macroeconomist Ms. Foster back here to talk to you all about Unit 1, which is our basic economic concepts. What kind of concepts do we see in Unit 1? We see scarcity, opportunity cost, comparative advantage in terms of trade, also demand, supply, and equilibrium. So let's jump in. There are two key graphs for Unit 1. That's the production possibilities curve, and which is on the left-hand side there, and then you've got the basic market demand and supply on the right-hand side showing us equilibrium. Okay, so scarcity, what is scarcity? Is our basic problem economics. It's basically that we have these unlimited wants. By we, I mean consumers or just everybody, basically. Governments can include businesses. But the idea is that we have these unlimited wants, but we have limited resources. So we have to find ways to become efficient and better allocate our resources so we can satisfy the most wants that we can with the limited resources that we have. So economics is basically the science of scarcity and studying how do we deal with scarcity and how do we solve that problem or just make it somewhat more manageable. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative to any decision you make. So what would you rather be doing right now? Would you rather be playing video games, sleeping, being on social media, whatever it is? And opportunity costs are going to be different for everybody right now. For me, it's such a beautiful day right now. I should probably be outside. So that's my opportunity cost. I could be outside and just enjoying the sunshine. Whatever you choose to do, you could have done something else instead. So I always talk about opportunity costs. I introduced it to you guys when I said, what would you rather have, burger, fries? You can't have both. And then, so if you choose the fries, the burger's your opportunity cost. If you choose the burger, the fries your opportunity cost. And then this right here is showing you the concept of the difference between increasing and constant opportunity costs. On the left-hand side, you're seeing constant opportunity costs. So basically what we're seeing is that corn and wheat are using the same resources for production. So we can substitute those and we're not going to see this massive drop-off or massive trade-off. But if we use two products, or we try to make two products that are vastly different, you're probably going to see an increasing opportunity cost, like you see with the cactus and the pineapples on the right-hand side. That increasing opportunity cost is because you use different resources for production. So you're having to give up an increased amount. So if you can see on here, the first pineapple that I make, I'm giving up only a little bit of cactus. But then as I'm doing more and more, I'm giving up more and more, basically. And then when I make going from here to here, you see that opportunity cost is going much bigger, basically. So that's starting the increase in opportunity cost. So what does it look like differently on the graph? A constant one is just a straight line. And then it's terrible. It's terrible. But basically the increasing opportunity cost is when we say the PPC is bowed out or concave, or basically looks like a rainbow. That's what one student called it one time. All this stuff on the left-hand side, the stuff that's in blue, guys, that's all the stuff from your curriculum. So not a bad idea to take a look at that stuff, but basically what I have done is translated all that stuff, but this is just me letting you know this is the stuff that they want you to know specifically to pass the AP test. So the other thing we need to know about the PPC is we need to know how to label it. Usually it's two different goods. A lot of times you just broader capital goods and consumer goods. We should also know that economic growth is when we shift our PPC outwards, basically. And we could do it for one type of products or both products. And that basically is a way of showing economic growth. Okay, absolute advantage is a simple concept. It's basically who does something better with the same amount of resources, who can produce more of something with the same amount of resources. Basically, you can just look at raw data and go, hey, Frank produced 10 hot dogs and Phil produced 15. So Phil has absolute advantage. It's very easy. Comparative advantage is much more difficult. We'll have to calculate the per unit opportunity cost. And if you forget how to do that, go ahead and do some practice problems and I'll put some on my website. But basically, you just calculate the per unit opportunity cost. You set it up like the equation, and then you figure out what about just 1 unit of something? What then do I have to give up? Then I can compare the two and then know, okay, then if they're giving up less, they then have comparative advantage. Specialization basically is when a country produces only one or just a few goods and specializes in those goods, becomes very efficient at producing those goods, makes so much of it, more than they need, and so they trade for the other goods that maybe they're not as good at making, basically, or not as efficient at. Specialization we do specifically in our lives. Like I specialize in economics and government, and I get really good at that and then share that with the world. I don't grow my own food, I don't make my own clothing, all that kinds of stuff. Terms of trade is basically just the price that both countries could agree to. And almost always there is like a happy middle spot in between those two per unit opportunity costs that is an ideal terms of trade. Calculating advantage in terms of trade. So this question right here that you can find in the slideshow is just an excellent review and just practice for that. And I always have the answers included. Anytime I include a question on this slideshow, you're going to see the answer key that's right next to it. So go ahead, try to do it on your own first. Anything you can't do, then go ahead and check the answers. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email, and I'll try to create some videos where I just go through and go through all the FRQs and just try to talk about them basically. Okay, our next topic is demand. We should know the law of demand. That's basically very simple. Everyone knows this, that if the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. As the price goes down, you want more quantity. We should also know that demand is downward sloping, and we should also know the shifters, tastes and preferences. So if those change, we also number of consumers. If those increase, then there's increased demand. The price of related goods, the substitutes and the complements, the income, and then also future expectations could also cause people to want to buy more or buy less, depending on what those expectations are. Supply, again, is just, we need to know the law of supply, basically because because producers want to make lots of money, they want a high price. You know, a demander, someone who is buying something wants a low price, but if you're selling something, you want a high price. So we should just know that the law of supply tells us that the curve is upward sloping, that as price increases, the quantity supplied increases. And then we should also know the supply shifters, the price of inputs and resources. Obviously, let's say I'm a pizza maker and pizza sauce becomes more expensive. Guess what? My pizza will then become more expensive. If there's more sellers in the market, there's more supply. Increased technology increases supply. And then also government action, taxes and subsidies. So if government tax me less as a business, then I can supply more. If they provide subsidies to me, money for my business, then I can provide more as well. Also, my expectations on future profit. If I expect more profits in the future, I'll produce more right now. Versus if I expect like an economic downturn or something like that, I might start ramping down my production right now. Equilibrium. So equilibrium is just that basically where demand and supply meets. In a market setting, it occurs when the price has adjusted until quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded, basically. So if we don't have the perfect price, like in this market right here, the perfect price of pizza is $3 and the perfect amount that people want to buy is 8 slices. But what if we price our product too high or too low? And by we, I mean the sellers actually. You get disequilibrium, basically. So you should know that disequilibrium is basically when we're not in equilibrium. There's something wrong, basically. We're not where demand and supply meet. And so either surplus or shortages are examples of those. And a surplus happens when the price is too high, and a shortage happens when the price is too low. For example, what if iPads increase to $100,000? You're going to see a huge surplus in iPads. People aren't going to be able to afford them because of the income effect, and people want them less. I won't buy an iPad at $100,000. What if it drops to $1? You're going to see a shortage of iPads, basically, because the price is so low. Okay, so that's it for Unit 1, basic concepts. Again, the main things you need to know are production possibilities, a curve, opportunity costs, comparative advantage in terms of trade, and then the basic demand and supply model. So have a great rest of your day, Vikings, and I'll jump into Unit 2 in just a moment.